Well, we just heard Chris, who's another mentee, who was the young guy that we had our other board meeting with a couple of weeks ago, and he explained the process, getting the board members, etc., and answered your questions. And he said it slightly differently, in a different manner. It's emotional bank account. Which is another way of saying fear, overcoming it, which is, and you wonder why I spent so much fucking time on it, because it's the biggest single thing that you got to overcome. And the guys that overcome it, he said it was easy. No, he said it was easy. The process, he said, is easy. It is, but it's getting to do it. The process is easy, but it's forcing yourself to do it, which he's done very effectively, and it was different for Tony. Two different guys, and what do you see the different? What's your takeaway from listening to Chris? Extroverted, yeah, that's true, for sure.
Well, it sounded like once he actually got started, it just fell into place. That's what it sounded like.
Well, it fell into place because he pushed. I knew the way the funnel, he sets up the funnel, and that and I knew that it fell into place because he did a lot of homework. First day he does this, second day he does this, third day he does calls, and he gave you a couple of websites to use as part of his template. So he's refined for him what you're going to get. Although you're going to get his shit as part of, we've added it now, to the stuff that you're going to have to go through, 4,000 pages. And I haven't figured out how I'm going to mix it up to make sure that it doesn't pop out. So I make sure it's the only way I can get you to look at all of the material is if I don't tell you where it is. It's chicken shit, really. But I know you won't read the fucking thing, and you'll. And then there's, you're reducing the probability of your success because you won't go through the material. And but he has refined it, and and it's not that it's hard, but it's not impossible. What other? Okay, between the two, I mean, what else other than he's more outgoing? What other takeaway did you get between the difference between the two?
More of a generalist than a detail guy. Felt like it was just flowing.
Yeah. You're right. Tony is a detailed guy. He needs to cross the T's and dot the I's, and but he's still got it done in the same amount of time, and he's got a full-time job. So somebody's working some long fucking hours, which is Tony. So it's detail-oriented. You'd think it'd be just the opposite. Plus, he's got a full-time job, yet they both took about the same amount of time.
I can imagine in case with Chris that he wasn't less prepared, but this was just a confidence bit that he just took out of the preparation and reading on his specific section.
Yeah, and he understands but he understood the natural foods, so to speak, market because that's part of his lifestyle. So he knew a lot about that prior to us going into it. And whereas with hospitals, with Tony, he didn't know anything. So he had to do more homework so he could get up to speed. So they're probably both up to speed about the same in their industries. One because he was already there and he just topped it up. And the other one, he's starting from scratch. And he did a lot of homework. But Tony is in that investment banking business, so he looks at deals, so he knows how to dissect deals. So he dissected them. I don't know this for a fact. Similar to the way when people bring him deals, but two different backgrounds. And generally, I call them both healthcare, although the food thing isn't it's healthcare as hospitals. Two different approaches. Both took about the same amount of time, similar age, 135, 131. One had previous experience in building his own business. But it was an interesting point that he brought out, and I probably wouldn't have mentioned it, but he did. He said he realized after the 7 years or so that he had been involved in his first startup, what kept him from growing is that he and his two other co-founders tried to maintain control too much. So with the money that they brought in for the 3 rounds of funding kept them from getting real money so they could grow the business. So the very thing that you guys are worried about, losing control, remember I said I would rather have 10% of a $1 billion company as opposed to 90% of a $10 million company? That's the error he made in the first time.
By keeping control, you lose control of your growth.
Correct. Yeah, and he won't. Now, I'm in this deal, so I mean, we wouldn't have done that anyway. But he learned himself. They were so fastidious about, and it took him a lot longer to raise those 3 rounds of funding than it should have. But I mean, they must have talked to a gazillion of the VCs until they found the VC that was willing to give them the money or a little less money for not as much control as some of the big guys. And that took a lot of time, and it ultimately kept them from growing. But on the other side, as I've told them, if you had gotten that growth, you probably wouldn't have left the business to go do the other thing. And so as my mother would say, every cloud's got a silver lining. And so
he said he had difficulties in the first meeting with the accountants.
they beat him up.
Yeah. Probably because it wasn't his field of experience and comfort. Would it be appropriate to ping pong the questions that are being posed by the accountancy firm with your non-exec CFO?
Well, no, but the non-exec CFO was in the meeting, but he still got beat up because, the 2 or the 3 partners that were in the meeting, one was a biz development partner and one was a audit partner's a hard ass. They went, well, let me see the numbers. I mean, you haven't started the business yet. And so the audit partner's thinking, what the fuck we got this meeting for? There's nobody here. Of course, the biz development partner wants to have the meeting because that's what he does, or she does, business development. And then the M&A partner, who has done M&A, oh, well, I mean, this is how the deals start here in Silicon Valley. So, let's, all he saw was future fees, not all, but he saw future fees. And Chris comes across articulate, and he looks the part. He looks investment banking type. And so then he learned, but like he said, Chris said, fuck, I got 3 more meetings. Now, he set 3 more meetings all up in one day. I wouldn't have done that. I would have put some space in between him so he could, but he didn't because he couldn't get the meeting. It just so happens all these guys could see him on one day. So he made the meetings. And so then he went into the gauntlet and he was forced to perform. He had no option but success. Because if he blew those other 4, like he said, I'd have to move to another city. And so when you put your back, and the very thing you don't want to do, put your back against the wall, you'll perform most of the time. And he did. And so, of course, now he chuckles about it. He didn't fucking chuckle when it was going on, I assure you. Should I cancel the meeting? Should I do that? No, you fucking do it now. But it's really, and it's good that you guys can see this. It's it's not easy, but it sure is a long ass way from impossible. Because we even get the impossible done. So I mean, it's great experience, and these are young guys. These are inexperienced to what I'm teaching you how to do. So it's not like some old timer who's done this a gazillion times. This is the first time, because in his first outing, the board that he had, Chris, were his 3 other 2 co-founders, And every time a private equity firm put up money, they put a board member on. So his board was, majority were private equity guys, which aren't so loving and kind, and because that's the nature of the game, that's the nature of the beast. But I mean, he's done well. Any comments about how that went, or any other questions vis-a-vis Chris and Tony?
Chris seemed a lot more intentional in where he located himself. Like there was a lot of strategy behind going to San Francisco because of the business climate.
Yeah, because I mean, Silicon Valley's there, and there's a lot of money, and they're used to it. Also, it's the hub for California for the thing that he's in about foods and health, and the kids are into that there, and so it was the right place. Tony headquartered there because he came from that area. He's from the Bay Area, and for a slightly different reason, as I said, but most of our board members are Southern California based. But it's close enough. I mean, San Francisco to LA is an hour by plane, so it's not a big deal. And two different approaches, two different personalities, two different ethnic groups. The only thing in common is they both speak Mandarin. That's about it. One's a Chinese guy and one's a Caucasian guy, but both from the United States. Even though they both speak Mandarin, and and it just works. Anything else? Okay, who's my? Well, now it's not 5 o'clock. I have a 6 o'clock. Who? What are the? You 6? Okay. If there's nothing else tonight, you're going out again. Thanks, YouTubers.